stories. This happened in 2004 when I was in the United States Army. I was stationed somewhere in the Middle East and then transferred somewhere else. And then I went to China. While over in China, there were other U.S. Army personnel. I happened to look over and I see Private Jenkins and some other gentlemen talking, and there was an Asian woman that looked like she was under the influence of something. Private Jenkins was talking to the guy, and then I see Private Jenkins give the man a wad of cash, and the guy gave Jenkins what looked like some type of powdery drug. Jenkins escorted the woman to his room, and the woman kept asking him who he was and where they were. Jenkins kept looking around, making sure not to have anyone follow him. Although he was unaware of my presence, Jenkins shoves her inside, and I walk down the hall, and then I hear the woman screaming. I bust in the room, and Jenkins is naked, and she is sitting in the corner crying. I start punching him in the face, and then other U.S. Army personnel come in and break us up. The sergeant comes in.
What in the fuck is going on in here? Hudgens, what the fuck is going on in here? Jenkins, what the fuck is going on in here?
I answered the sergeant.
Sir, I caught Jenkins trying to force himself on this Chinese citizen.
The sergeant looked at the poor woman laying in the floor, crying and embarrassed. Sergeant Giles pulls out his gun and escorts Jenkins back to base. Jenkins is convicted of rape, and he is discharged, and after Jenkins left, I finished up my career in the Army and retired from the Army and became a contractor. I was driving down the road one day, and I see a guy walking down the street. I could not place my finger on who he was. I thought hard, and nothing was registering in my mind. I stopped at a gas station to get gas, and then I get back in my car, and I hear the sound of a gun being cocked back. Hello, Hudgens. Nice to fucking see you. Today, I won't forget this day. Do you know what the fuck today is, Hudgens? A familiar voice echoed in my mind. It was Private First Class Jenkins, dishonorably discharged for rape and attempted murder. I was a bit surprised. I won't say that I was afraid, because we as soldiers are trained not to be afraid, and to handle the worst situations in a calm and efficient way. Jenkins demands that I drive. He kept the gun to the back of my head. As we turn the corner, I go down I-75. Jenkins asks me, "Do you have a wife, Hudgens?" I did not want to answer his question. Jenkins' pistol whacked me and asked me again in a more aggressive tone, and I said yes. Jenkins made rude and disrespectful comments about my wife and kids. He threatened to do all kinds of things to my wife and kids. Jenkins was mad because I had ruined his military career, according to him. I explained to him that he committed a crime and brutalized an innocent citizen. Jenkins screamed racist shit at me about Asians, and he kept going back to that day that I got him and he lost his career. He told me about how he had to sleep at a homeless shelter and how he can never be honored for the shit that he did in the Army. Now, I must at least try to be fair to Jenkins. Yes, Jenkins did try to rape a Chinese woman and was discharged from the Army. Jenkins was also a brave soldier that has survived heavy enemy fire, completed damn near impossible missions. Jenkins bragged about all of the things he did, and then he says, "I could have had anything I ever wanted, but instead some fucking goody two-shoes cuck motherfucker had to come and cock-block me and get me a fucking dishonorable discharge." I injected, "Yes, you were a good soldier, and you survived things that most never would have, and you were a great marksman, but you victimized an innocent person and had to face justice. Jenkins then told me to pull over and to get into the passenger seat as he got into the driver's seat. Jenkins was nervous and giddy. He was sweating and smelled like cat piss. As Jenkins fiddled around in the driver's seat looking for something, I could not make out what he was murmuring. I began to think about my wife and what would happen if my daughter never got to see her father again. I began to look for a way out of this. Jenkins was high as a kite and did not know what he was doing, or it seemed that way. Jenkins then drives to some random house. "You see that bitch over there?" Jenkins asked. I stayed quiet. "You're gonna fucking rape her, and then I'm going to call the police, and you're going to go to prison," Jenkins continued. "Jenkins, listen, man, I'm not going to hurt that woman," I replied back. Jenkins then murmurs a bit and mumbles about some other nonsense. Then he looks at me and looks back at the woman. Then he tells me to get out of the car. I get out and he pushes me forward towards the woman's house. Jenkins starts singing some disturbing song that he came up with. It was vulgar and downright sickening to listen to. Jenkins then tells me that he was going inside and to wait here. He then chains me to a pole and he goes into the house. I hear the woman screaming, and then Jenkins throws her outside by her hair and she falls down on the ground. She looks at Jenkins and looks at me, and she is confused and utterly terrified. Jenkins then tells the woman how he was discharged from the army and how it was my fault. But I did not mind my own business. The woman begs Jenkins to let her go, and Jenkins hits her with his fist and tells her to be quiet. Jenkins then explains to the woman that because I ruined his career, that he was going to ruin my life and reputation by forcing me to commit a rape. Jenkins wanted to make it to where I wouldn't be allowed to see my daughter, and he started making comments about my daughter and how he wasn't above fucking kids, too. I lunged at him only to be restrained by the handcuffs that binded my movement. Jenkins then forced the woman to remove her clothes, and he forces me to remove my clothes and tells me if I don't do it, that he will shoot me right here and shoot her and would torture my wife and daughter. I looked at the woman and stood up. The woman began to scream and begged me not to hurt her. I just told her I had no choice, and she kept screaming. Jenkins was getting excited. I told the woman to just lay still, and it would all be over soon. Jenkins then looks at me and looks at her, and then he commands me to begin. Jenkins looked away briefly, and I was able to snatch the gun from his hand, and he begged me not to shoot him. I told him to walk, and that I wasn't going to murder him in cold blood. Jenkins is then taken back to town, and I tell the authorities about Jenkins, and they lock him up. The woman thanks me. I get on the elevator, and Jenkins is inside the elevator, and he shoots me in the spine and cripples me. It's been a few years, and my back is starting to heal, and I'm getting to where I can walk again. I'm going to murder Jenkins. I don't care about honor anymore. Being in this fucking hospital, I have come to the realization that all of those promises of honor, respect, and all of that other shit is just a selling point to get meathead teenagers that think they're badass to join the military. The military did nothing the whole time I was in this hospital. I fought for this country just so whenever I need help, I am treated like a second-class citizen. I have bed sores, and I haven't eaten a decent meal in months. Jenkins shows up at the hospital, and he walks past me and tells me that he owns the hospital and that I was going to suffer. Jenkins then walks off. I don't see Jenkins for the rest of the time that I am there. A few months go by and nothing, so I forget about Jenkins. I lay down to go to sleep. About 2 hours later, my daughter gets a phone call. "Here, Daddy, it's for you." "Who is it, honey?" I don't know, Daddy. I stick the phone to my ear. I don't make a sound. I slowly observe my surroundings. I then slowly reply, "If this is Jenkins, I am going to find you and kill you." Jenkins hangs up the phone, and then I hear a gunshot, and I see my front door has a bullet in it. I was able to get to my safe and pull out my gun. I tell my wife and daughter to get down into the cellar and don't open it until I say so. They hurry down to the cellar. Jenkins shoots me in the arm and I drop my gun. Jenkins walks out from the shadows, cocky, upright, with a smile on his face. He leans down, gets in my face, and says, "I bet your wife has some good pussy." I had to get free, but I was unable to. Jenkins then looks back at me and says, "I bet your daughter has a good one too." I closed my eyes and prayed. I was in severe pain, and I could have died at any moment. I look up, and I see a security guard sneaking around. He sees me, and I motion for him to call for backup. Jenkins then tells me that he lost the only reason he had to live, and that he simply could not allow me to live. Jenkins didn't want the life that he had to live. Instead, he blamed me for getting discharged from the military. He blamed me because he did not want to take responsibility for his own actions, which I told him that as a soldier who doesn't own up to his mistakes is no soldier. And just as we turn the corner, I hear a loud gunshot. I feel my chest, and I'm shocked that there is no blood. I turn around, and it is the Asian woman's daughter. She is a cop. She just blew Jenkins' heart out of his chest. The Asian woman's mother, which was Jenkins' victim, told her about how I had saved her life, and if it wasn't for me, that you, her daughter, wouldn't be here. The police arrive, and they question me and the Asian woman, and I explain everything to them. They are unsure how to pursue with the investigation. While they are doing what they can, I just called an old army friend, and I will be out of the station soon. This happened when I was around 12 years old. I was going to spend the night at my best friend's house. My best friend's name is Kathy. Kathy and I have been friends for years. So anyway, I'm at Kathy's house, and we were all laughing and joking and stuff, and her stepfather comes in the door, and we sort of stop, and he burps really loudly, then slurs something. Kathy's stepfather was an alcoholic. I tried to ask Kathy what he had said, and she just rushed me out the door, and then grabbed my hand, and we ran into the woods, and just kinda hung out there. I asked Kathy what was going on, and Kathy says to me, "Did you understand what he was mumbling back at the house?" I told Kathy that I was unable to make out his words. Kathy then told me that he was trying to get us to dance in our swimsuits, and then he was going to try to touch us. Then she tells me that her other friend, Sarah, isn't allowed over at the house anymore because her father touched her, and he almost went to jail. I was still confused because I was young, and I did not know what Kathy was talking about. So I asked Kathy to explain. So Kathy explained that her mother told her that her stepfather was sick and that touching others without permission is against the law and isn't nice. I understand now what Kathy was talking about. So later that night, I woke up to her stepfather trying to touch her and her crying and telling him to stop. Kathy's mom comes in and is threatening to call the police, and Kathy's stepfather is stumbling around trying to hit Kathy and her mother, and then he falls down and breaks his leg. Kathy runs out the house and into the woods. I chase after her and ask her, what was he doing? And Kathy tells me, he touches me when Mommy falls asleep. It hurts when he touches it. I was in shock. Kathy's stepfather was a pedophile. The paramedics showed up, and so did the police, and they were asking if it was domestic violence. Kathy asked to talk to a female cop, and Kathy tells the female cop what happened, and the female cop whispered into the other two cops' ears, and they leave. Kathy's stepfather was gone, and we never had to hear from him again. Wrong. When Kathy and I had become college age, Kathy's father was released from prison, and he somehow found out Kathy's phone number and started calling her and telling her about the sick shit he used to do and how he doesn't feel bad for doing it. Kathy reported him to the police, and he went back to jail for harassment. He ended up getting really drunk one night and said something along the lines of, "Can I see her pussy?" He said to a father that was standing in line at the gas station. The man called his wife, and the wife came and picked up their daughter. And then the father of the little girl pulled out a crowbar and beat Kathy's father to death in the parking lot as he shouted, "You want to fuck my daughter? Is that it? You sick fuck, die!" The man was arrested and taken to jail. Later at the trial, he was tried, and the jury determined him not guilty. This happened a few years ago. Okay, so there is something that you need to understand about me. I am a meth head. I love smoking shit. I know it has a bad reputation because usually the people you see smoking it are assholes, thieves, and junkies. I am not a thief. I do not steal to get a fix. I am not too much of an asshole. I mean, I don't go around trying to fight everyone and acting like I'm a badass 24/7. I just smoke it and sit at home and play video games or watch movies. I'm not addicted to it in any way, shape, or form. It's thought to be a very powerful and addictive drug. To me, it's not that addictive. Usually, I go on a binge around the summertime, and that lasts for maybe a month or two, depending on the quality of it. If I get something and it's too powerful, I get strung out, then I know it's time to quit. I was walking down the street to go and get a pack of smokes when this truck pulls up, and the people in the truck were cussing, and then they called me. "Hey, you that motherfucker that stole my daddy's truck?" one of the men said. I looked at him, confused. "I don't know anything about a truck. What does a truck look like?" I replied. "Yeah, he's the one," the guy in the front passenger seat said. The four men got out of the truck and came right up to me. They pinned me on the ground, and the driver said, "I know you stole my daddy's truck, you dope-head motherfucker." I was confused, and also, I knew I had to get out of this situation. I knew they weren't going to believe a word I said, solely because I smoked meth, and I am guilty by association, even though I don't associate with other users, and I stick to myself. "I don't know anything about a truck, I promise you," I said. The driver let me up and told me to let me know if I see a black Ford F-150. I agreed, just to get them to leave. After they left, I forgot about it. I get back to my apartment, and the landlord tells me I need to find a new place, and that this is a drug-free establishment. I told my landlord that there are no drugs in my apartment. "Do you want to look?" The landlord looks at me and says, "Don't be a smart-ass, boy. I will throw your ass out right here this second. Okay, whatever, stupid bitch. Anyway, I wasn't lying when I said there were no drugs in my apartment. I only keep my drugs at my friend's house because I knew the landlord had a tendency to open up people's apartments without their permission and would plunder through their shit. And the police around here would not care if he was illegally searching my apartment, and he would report it for having drugs. They'd ignore his crime and take me to jail for being a piece of shit dopehead. If you've never been an addict or been around them, then you don't know the shit we go through. Smoking meth, in some people's eyes, is the worst drug in the world. Others would say crack or heroin. All are extremely powerful, and I know this doesn't mean much coming from a drug addict dopehead, but not all addicts are giant pieces of shit that steal your car, radio, your TV, and sell all of their belongings. Some people I have seen that are on these drugs have careers, and they have a firm control of the amount they indulge in. Yes, some people also get fucking batshit crazy insane, and the person that I'm about to tell you about is an example of why you probably shouldn't try meth. And it should have been enough to make me stay away from it for good. It was a Tuesday, and I was waiting to see my dealer. I had just gotten paid after starting my new job as a computer repair technician. As I'm waiting, this guy comes up and asks me what I'm doing standing in front of this building like that. I told him that I wasn't doing anything. The guy told me that I had to move. I found it irritating that he was bothering me. The guy comes out again and asks me where his money is and says that I stole it from his register. I stood there thinking, what the fuck? The guy then pulls out a gun and demands that I give him his money back. I explained to him that I did not take his money. I have no clue where your fucking money is. You fucking dopehead, you got my goddamn money. Get the fuck out of here before I kill you. The guy yelled. I walked across the street and I was walking towards the soda machine when a cop stopped me and got out of his car and slammed me against the car and started searching me. I did not consent to a search, and he had no warrant, and he illegally searched me. And the cop said to me, good luck proving it, you fucking junkie motherfucker. I run these streets. He then hauled ass out of the parking lot. As I was walking home, the same cop stops me on the side of the road, gets out of his car, and tells me to stand still. I ask the cop, what seems to be the problem, officer? The cop then pushes me into his car and pulls out his nightstick and tells me, this is your last warning. If I see you in my streets again, I will take you out. The cop is fucking crazy. He just threatened to kill me if he catches me again. I called the higher-ups and told them that he had been harassing me, and they asked me for my name, and I gave them my name, David Green. Are you a drug addict? The woman on the phone asked me. That's irrelevant to why I called, I replied, and she hung up on me. I continued my walk home and made it with no issues. I awake the next day, and there are two cops outside my apartment. Fuck, I thought to myself. I hope they aren't going to fuck with me. I don't want to fucking deal with this right now. I walked out the door, and immediately I hear the siren. I turn around, and it's the same fucking cop and his new partner. The cop comes up and slams me against a brick wall really hard, and then handcuffs me and takes me to jail. I tried to explain that I wasn't fucking doing anything, and the police at the station just ignore me and treat me like they have a reason for me being here. The cop comes back in and turns out the lights, and then I pass out and wake up in the hospital. I ask the doctor what happened, and the doctor says, sodomy. I couldn't believe it. That fucking cop that has been harassing me is now going around sodomizing people. I told the cops that I need to be set free. I haven't done anything. They ignored me. I have no idea why the one cop sodomized me, or why the other cops are acting like they own the fucking street. They finally released me from jail, and I'm walking home from work. Then the cop that sodomized me stops. I run, and he chases after me in his car. I cut the corner real fast, and then I see two black SUVs, and they crash into the police cruiser, and they arrest the cop. If you're new, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, as it really helps me out. And if you are already subscribed, welcome back and thank you for subscribing.